Hi, thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Nicole.
And I'm your host, Jacqueline. You're listening to the second season of Perfictionist. So on this week's episode, we will be discussing Dead of Winter by Cressley Cole, which is the third installment in the Arcana Chronicles series.
We are picking up with Evie escaping Death's lair and making her way to Camp Arcana. She and her allies are devising a plan to get Jack back from the lovers.
Yes. Oh boy, this was intense.
They might be some of the sickest characters I've ever encountered.
Seriously, like so gross. Oh my goodness. We will love you ever so much.
You said that so creepily. Before we jump into talking about those fantastic additions to the story, I had a theory about Jack going into this book.
Okay.
And it was wrong. But I still think that there is some merit to it. And although I wasn't completely correct, I'm not convinced I'm totally wrong. Although the ending of this book leaves a lot of questions. So my theory was...
Yes.
In the previous book, Endless Nights, we discovered that there is an inactive card. So all the teenagers are representatives of the tarot cards, but there's one player who remains inactive until they kill an Arcana.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't know they're playing the game, or who they are, or what's going on, then how are they ever going to find an Arcana and accidentally kill them? And how is the game ever going to end if no one knows who they are? I feel like they've always got to be like the last players.
Right.
They could stay inactive while everyone else is just killing each other.
But remember that the game causes convergence.
Mm.
Right.
So eventually the gods will force it so that the player becomes active.
Yeah, no matter what, if all of the cards decided, we are going to farm and live out peaceful lives. We're not going to play this game anymore.
Mm-hmm. Which is Evie's hope.
Which is Evie's hope. Regardless, I think convergence will happen. And I think, too, that my assumption I made, I could be totally wrong. Mm-hmm. My assumption is that with convergence, there will be heightened aggression, because we know that Evie does have, with the Red Witch, a very heightened aggression and that heat of battle that's described. And so I think it's almost out of their hands to be able to stop the game at least in that way, just by deciding not to play.
That makes sense. But kind of going along with that. So my theory is that Jack is actually the inactive or dormant card. And not only is he the inactive card, but that he is the Emperor, which is known as the Stone Overlord. And my reasons for thinking that are the evidence I collected, which turned out to be not true. But Matthew can't see his future. So he can't. So this could still play in. So it turns out he is not the Emperor card, but he could still be the inactive card, because the Emperor card is not the inactive card. That was what I got wrong.
Oh.
But he could still be the dormant card because Matthew can't see his future. The reason I thought that he was specifically going to be the Emperor was for two reasons. Evie is the Empress, and it feels as though Evie is fated to be with Jack. So Emperor, Empress.
Right.
Just makes sense.
Okay.
And then... Also because of the forest that Evie had to go through to kind of get to the camp that Jack had set up, which was called the Stone Forest.
Oh, so did you wonder if maybe Jack had done that?
Yes.
Oh,
and maybe he's
okay.
But he didn't know he did it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then it kind of explains that part. So yes, the Stone Forest, Stone Overlord.
I love that, though. I love how you we're collecting evidence that like it is a very logical
Thank you.
conclusion to come to. Yeah. Wrong, but very good. Very
Wrong. Let's be clear. I will say I'm still holding out that he might be the dormant card.
Right.
He's just not the Emperor, which doesn't leave very many people. I think that only leaves like the Hangman and one other card he could be.
Okay.
Okay,
because we've learned about the other cards. Okay.
And then one of the ones we haven't learned about, it's like it's a female card because it says Lady of the something something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I think there's only two other options, and I don't think they fit as well, but I'm just still holding out hope that he is, in fact, an Arcana, which makes absolutely no sense considering what happens at the end of this book.
I do enjoy how your reasoning and how you came to that conclusion, and I'm like low-key impressed.
Thank you. I have so many tabs on these books and have been keeping very meticulous notes.
Right.
I need to know these books inside and out.
Yes. Oh, they are pretty fascinating. There's a lot to them. The lovers. Should we talk about the lovers? Oh my goodness.
There's so much to say.
So it seems that they, to have their full power, they have to like do this thing where they hold hands and like swing their hands, which is so creepy.
Yes. It's and they're like twins.
Yeah, they're twins. And they can create like clones of themselves, right?
That's kind of like the big midway shocker, is because at the beginning you think that they've killed them. Mm-hmm. And Jules is all like, where's my Arcana mark? I earned it. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't come because, they can't, well, I guess they can reincarnate, but they can clone themselves. Mm-hmm. Which I didn't see that coming.
No. Right. And so it's really interesting to learn about like the different powers all of the Arcana have, because they're all kind of like unexpected, I feel.
And this is kind of like a not cool move on Death's part, because Death knew that the lovers took Jack, and Death knew that the lovers could clone themselves, and yet he didn't pass that vital information on to Evie.
He keeps info very close, like he plays it close to to the chest or whatever. So he's so problematic.
He's so problematic in a multitude of ways. But yeah, and what I found very interesting about the lovers, aside from like their unique abilities, is the fact that when they make their clones are described as these like incredibly beautiful, picturesque, almost kind of gothic creations.
Yeah.
And yet when you meet Vincent, who is one of the twins, he's like, think of the gamer who sits in the basement and eats Cheetos and drinks Mountain Dew.
And pizza. And just like greasy. And just like, unkempt. The greasy thing is what grossed me out, though. The greasy description. Yeah. Because like, I was like, that's a good description. His hair is greasy. It's probably greasy from like all of the stuff he eats.
And he like doesn't brush his teeth, so his teeth are all yellow. And just absolutely not the same.
Yeah. So like his reincarnates or whatever, what are they called? Incarnates or whatever. They're like, obviously they're like Vincent and Violet are obviously quite vain, and so they make like beautiful versions to go out in the world, but they hide their sort of homely selves back in this like very fortified building or whatever.
Like this underground bunker situation.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important bits of information we get from their character storyline is that Evie, the whole reason that they're as like evil and twisted, because they like seriously torture people for funsies. They consider it like, they're like, oh, we're loving them, but they're like grotesquely torturing people. And the whole reason they're doing it is because Evie, in a not Evie, sorry, the Empress from a previous incarnation, a different person, had tortured them so significantantly. So it was, I don't know,
they
some
were
sick, twisted way.
practicing for her.
Yeah. They wanted to get super good
yeah.
at torture so they could torture her.
And it seemed to be implied that they would then twist the person's mind so that pain was pleasure.
But were they able to do that because they couldn't do their twin power?
Right.
Was that one of their twin powers?
Yeah, I think so. So, good point. I was wondering about that because I thought they had Jack, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh my gosh, is he going to come away from them like now? Like, and then my mind went down like a very 18, like R-rated, like direction where I was like, oh, Jack's going to come out of this and he's going to like only be able to like do things like
love in a certain way,
BDSM, you know, like that type of thing. And that would have taken the story in a very adult direction. Mm-hmm. But, so like when I first read that was kind of like where my mind went, was like, is he going to have to actually have whoever he's with hurt him in order for him to enjoy it after his mind is twisted? It doesn't seem like that happened though, because he seemed to be kind of like other than the fact that he was like physically tortured, in a painful way, he otherwise seems to be himself though. Mm-hmm. Right. So,
yeah, I mean, he refuses to talk about it, but that seems very Jack.
But and I mean, sure, like, yeah, he doesn't want to revisit that right now, but like, other than that, there's like, he's, himself.
What did you think about the reveal that Violet was absorbed into Vincent in the womb?
Repulsed. And when they killed Vincent and the eye kept moving, I was like, whoa, like, it was so gross. It was, I loved it in the way that it was just so repulsive and it was so like well portrayed that like I was physically repulsed as I was reading it. Is that how you felt too?
Yeah, it was absolutely disgusting. I mean, props to Selena for her move to take him out. Yeah. But the like description of it, and it's like, because the Empress had like separated them. He like the like story is like he absorbed her so they would never be apart. It's just like the fact that he absorbed her so they would be together forever kind of thing and couldn't physically be separated. That just adds to like the ick factor.
Yes.
Of them being conjoined in that way. And
but like so like that's what he said, right? But it's like, but didn't he like absorb her like when they were in the womb? Is that just like what he told himself? Because like if he like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just,
I'm sure that's just what he told himself.
Yeah, it's nasty. But you're right. They couldn't do the swinging of the hands because that is like what gives them the ultimate. So it was sort of like at least that's what I'm given to believe, is like, if they get together and they do this, then like, it's like, oh no, because now their entire power thing. But they obviously can't do that. So
they're kind of like at half power.
Yeah.
How we were talking in the previous episode, we were talking about how the world has kind of seemed sick. This game seemed different than the rest. It seemed to be kind of perverse in some sort of way. And I'm wondering if how Vincent and Violet were born and kind of how they're, presented, is that part of them being, because they were like, even their call was something about, not their call, but like their kind of secondary title was like, something perverse, and their card was upside down, which is like super significant because in tarot, if the card is upside down, it means the reverse. It's a reverse card.
Reversed and perverse.
Yeah. Well, I think in tarot, it's a reverse card, so it's just everything's kind of like the opposite. But in the story, it was kind of that idea was
when it's in tarot and it's upside down, because I read a little bit about the tarot. It was like if you got like an upside down 10 of swords or something, it was really, really bad.
I don't think all reverse cards are bad, though. I think it just means like it's the opposite. So I don't think it necessarily means something bad, depending on how you interpret it.
Right.
But in the game, it seems like in this novel, it seems that upside down, they're equating it with being perverse, bad, something wrong.
Yes.
Which I'm surprised that the hermit and the cannibal one were not upside down cards.
Yeah.
Because they seemed a little off too.
Just a little.
Just a little.
It's saying that reversed cards in tarot can add an additional layer of interpretation to a reading, may indicate challenges, blockages, or delays regarding to the card's upright meaning. It seems like the interpretation of reverse cards can be very much up to like the individual reader who's doing it. So it's very subjective. And so generally reverse cards are used to encourage the reader to consider aspects such as inner conflict, resistance, or the need to approach a situation from a different perspective. So Cressley could have taken that and like just done whatever she wanted with it, right? Mm-hmm. So why do you think, though, that the Lover's card was reversed?
I feel like it's saying that like there's something that has gone wrong with their bloodline. Because they said reverse perverse, like because they're putting those two things together. So I think it's like hinting at like there's something not right.
So do you feel that because Vincent like absorbed Violet and had her like looking out from his chest, that was kind of like why the card was upside down?
Because I wonder if there's something that caused both those things. I feel like the cause is something else, and both those things are the outcome.
Okay. Because when you mentioned like why weren't the Hermit's cards the Hermit and the Hierophant card reversed? Mm-hmm. I think it's also important to remember that the Arcana are born to be killers when they are reincarnated, and those guys were definitely killers. So
I guess they weren't doing anything wrong.
In
accordance to the game,
they were not doing anything maybe unexpected. Like they were born especially maybe vicious or whatever, which would only benefit them in the game. So, although it didn't benefit them in this game, but theoretically.
And like they do talk a lot about like the Lover's dad, who is their chronicler.
Yes.
Talked a lot about like how basically this bloodline has a vendetta against the Empress, and that vendetta has been passed down generation to generation. So it's like they've been after her for a while.
They've been taught to just hate her.
And they seem to be single-mindedly. It's like they don't even care about the game anymore. All they want is to torture her. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it's interesting to note that their card was upside down.
So what I find really strange about this whole game thing is like, it seems to me like the cards, like what you just mentioned about how they didn't care about the game anymore. They just wanted revenge on the Empress, right? Mm-hmm. It's sort of strange to me, like the game in general is strange because the winning card wins, or the winning person, whatever, they win immortality, but not all the cards seem to be trying to win.
Well, and even Death makes it sound like winning's not, well, he says winning's not what you think it is. It's not like this great thing that people think it should be.
Yeah.
And he also describes it as like going into stasis. Like you're not really an active participant in the world when the game's not happening. Mm-hmm. So they all are really just on the planet.
But he also mentions that he was like doing drugs and stuff. Do you think though that he like put himself into that stasis? Because how could you be like a real, like his affliction, his touch of death, like when you think about in general, like people crave companionship in general, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously this is a fictional universe and stuff, but like, let's just give that, like, it's very clear that Death craves companionship. Very clear. Okay. And touch, right? Mm-hmm. So if you couldn't have that and you knew that you had to just like, continue to live until the next one is born that you can touch, like, man, that would suck. Like, no wonder he was doing drugs, like, got like all these hundreds of years that need to pass by before he can have that companionship again, because you'd be afraid to get close to anybody, like even as a friend, because what if you accidentally brush them with your skin and then they died?
Yeah,
right?
And you can't just walk around wearing his armor everywhere.
Right? Like, you'd have to walk around, like, completely gloved, everything covered.
Yeah.
You'd be afraid to move about in society if you were worried about killing people, which he is. Right? So, yeah. So, and like, it's like, if the hermit would have hated that too, because he was very scientific, at least in this iteration of himself. But like, okay, so the hermit didn't know the game was happening, right? He didn't know about it. So he didn't know to try to win, right? And same with the Hierophant. But look at how disgusting they were.
True.
So I think I'm wondering, like, even if they don't have the chroniclers, are they just born kind of monstrous? Evie wasn't, but...
Well, but she did have a chronicler who was supposed to turn her monstrous.
She did, but I mean, like, she wasn't, like, because, yeah, she was supposed to turn out monstrous, but maybe... But that was like it seemed like she needed that environment in order to turn her monstrous, because inside her base personality was not.
I have two thoughts. One is that I think part of the story is a nature versus nurture debate.
Right.
And secondly, I wonder if what you mentioned in a previous episode, where it's like the gods will kind of make things happen. You used a word, I can't remember what it was. It's like, we'll make sure that they continue to fight each other. Like,
convergence?
Yes, the convergence. So I wonder
the aggression, the heightened aggression as the game goes on. Like,
I wonder if you have a chronicler, then the gods don't maybe give you innate as much innate aggression, like that builds maybe. Whereas like if the gods know you don't have a chronicler, maybe they will influence your natural behavior to be more twisted and more
as like a sponsor here.
Yeah.
have some killing tendencies.
Exactly.
Right.
So then even though you don't know that you should be doing this,
chance
you just
of
have
survival. Right. You have a chance of winning. The budding bromance. Let's talk about that.
Oh, goodness. Like 100% if Evie was not in the picture and Jack and Death or Aric or Aric, however you pronounce it, met, I feel like they would have this like competitive bromance going on.
Yes.
But because they both like are in love with the same girl, they're never going to be friends. But it's like you can kind of start to see them chummy, like when they get drunk together and they're like...
Oh, totally. And Jack has so much respect for how like Aric prepared for the cataclysmic event that was to take place and stuff. And
I think there's also respect going the other way as well, because Jack's just human and he's still able... Is he though? And he's still able to do all that stuff. And so I think Aric's like, oh, okay, you hold your own.
So there's a few times in these books where Jack does something that does seem to defy the odds. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Like he charges straight into gunfire, or he like does something that seems like it would require superhuman strength or something. Like, it's like, that can't, like, what? Like,
well, yeah, like, so back in Poison Princess, he kept saying to Evie, oh, like, no one gets the jump on me. Like, it's almost like I have a sixth sense. Like, no one, like, has ever.
No one gets the jump on me.
Yeah. And the only person who did was Evie, because she accidentally poisoned him.
Yes. But that's, like, literally, like, he was asleep and she released spores. There, like, there's nothing he could have done to prevent that, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. So it does, Oh, I just want to mention, like, Selena and Jack.
Yes.
They seem like the ultimate perfect couple.
They seem end goals.
Like a power couple.
And they're trauma bonded because they both got taken by the lovers. So they have that shared experience.
Yeah.
Part of me thought that Cressley was setting readers up to be okay with them being together, with Evie picking death. Because ultimately, throughout this book, she has to make a choice. Which boy she's going to choose. And I was like, oh, okay, she's going to choose death. Not that I love it, but she will. And then Jack and Selena will get together. But again, that did not happen.
No. And yeah. Like, but it seemed like they were so perfect for each other.
I think they're like, the impression I was, once I found out that both of them, like, she was like, nope, he's not, I've accepted that he doesn't want me. And he's like, nope, I don't like her that way. I was like, okay, they're going to be like the bestest of friends.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to be like those two people who are super, like brother and sister kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah. Sort of sad for Selena because she definitely pined after Jack, like hardcore.
But I mean, there is the flying boy.
Oh yeah, Gabriel.
the weird old-timey guy.
Yeah. He's
so
like
cute.
He's cute and like off-putting a little bit.
Yeah. Wearing his little suit and saying things all old-fashioned.
Yeah.
He's like, you mean what's up?
Yeah, I kind of like wonder, like, with the way that the cards seem to see another card and have this instant, like, that's why I wonder about, like, the fated mate thing. And that's why I'm perplexed about that line, that quote from, was it Endless Night, where it was like, Jack felt fated, death felt endless.
Yeah, and I think it's repeated in this book as well.
Yes, it is. It totally is. And I feel like she always uses the word fated for Jack, and I feel like, I don't know if she used the word endless for Aric again, but it was something similar. I don't know if it was like word for word. But again, that word fated was used for Jack. And it just makes me question if he's human yet again. Because I'm like, because it seems to me like Gabriel was like instantly in love with Selena, which makes me wonder if they were actually fated. Yeah. But Selena had this crush going on with Jack. So maybe she wouldn't have recognized that straight away. Right? That's my theory.
Oh, it's a good theory. I like it. But kind of coming to Evie's decision, as I said, I am horrible at theories because she doesn't pick death and she ends up picking Jack. Were you expecting her to pick Jack?
Let me think back. No, I was not expecting her to pick Jack. Not after everything, because the way I looked at it was, if Evie's reasoning this out and she loves them both equally, it would be kinder to let Jack go, because Aric literally doesn't have a choice about being able to have anyone else in his life as a companion that he can actually touch. And she loves him as much, like, if it's an equal love, then like, be with death. And then I was thinking, and Jack, because she was worried about him being human but having close ties to the Arcana and getting tangled up in the game. So I was thinking, logically it would make more sense for her to go with death. And I think if I were faced with that decision, or a decision where I love two people equally, and you literally couldn't decide because you love them both the same, I would then I would hope that I would then fall back to logic to make my decision on what was maybe best for each person, and not necessarily myself, because either way I'm with somebody I love, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of what Jack does, assuming she will pick death because that is what's best for her. So he's thinking about what would be best for her. And logically, for her survival, even though it's kind of a twisted.
So the fact that she picks Jack makes me think that she couldn't not pick him. And then we go back to that fated thing again.
Well, yeah, because like she had a really hard time leaving death. Like it was like, you could tell it was like.
She even turned back and he was like thinking, oh my God, she changed her mind. And then she turned away again. It was almost like he got rejected twice there.
Oh, I thought she was gonna go back to him. I thought she was gonna turn around and be like, oh, like fake us out and pretend to choose Jack, and then end up going back to him. So
were you shocked by that then?
I had no idea what she was gonna pick. It was because she was just so back and forth between the two. I was glad that she picked Jack. And then the ending happened. And I was like, absolutely, what just happened? Because
have you started the next book?
No, the next one's the novella, so it's kind of a pause.
See,
on the
this
story
is why.
anyways.
Okay, so Richter came, and then
who is the emperor? Which is why I'm wrong. Sorry.
Yes, Richter, the emperor. Okay, they made fun of his name. I'm like, that's
Richter
a badass
scale.
name. That's a badass name. Okay, Richter, that's a badass name. But anyway,
a little on the nose.
It's totally on the nose, but like the word sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Richter. It's a very powerful name.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's on the nose. He came and Stone Overlord came, and then he displayed his potential. And that is horrifying. He's almost worse than a volcano because at least, well, that's not true when I think of several very deadly volcanic explosions, but like he's basically like the worst.
There.
But the volcano's there.
He can just pop up.
He can pop up anywhere and kaboom! Like it's a valley full of magma. So it's like I don't know if that's necessarily how volcanoes act. Like usually there's like the explosion, and then isn't that like that kill, like the force of that can kill a lot of people, and then like the falling rocks, and then the magma comes, right?
Ash and stuff. Yeah, I think there's a whole
and the deadly gases and stuff like that. Whereas like with him, it's just like what, bam, magma like lava, and that's horrifying. Like, yeah, and then like how like so Evie sees this happen in front of her after she's made this choice. Death sees her make this choice.
Do you think death influenced the emperor somehow? Because
like led him there or something? Like,
yeah, something. I don't know. But like, do you think, because like Jack is like coming up to meet Evie on the cliff, and the magma comes out and wipes him and the army and Selena all out. So it's like we're left thinking that, and even Matthew confirms that Selena is dead, and then Jack is presumed dead, and then Death is just right there to like hold her back.
Well, he's got super speed though.
True. And he wasn't that far away.
Yeah.
So yeah, that definitely could explain it.
Yeah. I don't like that theory.
Well, I'm wrong about everything, so you're safe. But there's definitely something between the Emperor and Death, because every time the Emperor was brought up, like Death like did his little hand clenchy, his tell.
Yes, that's true. Well, after you see what the Emperor can do, like
you can see why Death would be a little afraid.
Yes. Because I kind of feel like the Emperor could take out Death quite easily. Like, Death is lucky he wasn't in that, like, down there where the AZ and Jack and Selena were.
Yeah.
And it's so effing sad because Selena rode out with Jack to try and make Evie choose Jack, like to help influence
make her jealous.
I know, and she did that on purpose. And now she's dead because of that, and that is so sad.
Yeah, that was so unexpected. I 100% thought that Jack and Selena would be like all the way through. Like, I thought they were kind of like main character, core characters. And like the fact that they had both just survived the torture of the lovers to then just be wiped out by another Arcana.
Oh, it was so unexpected. Like, it was so shocking.
Very, very sad by it. It was a very like heartbreaking ending. But at the same time,
this is why, though. This is literally why the first read through I did and the second read through I skipped day 0 because I was like, I can't.
You need to know.
I need to know. Yeah.
I would if I wasn't so excited to read day 0, but I like feel like I've hyped up day 0 so much that, and I don't think it'll take long to read.
I'm glad. No, it won't, and it's like 100% worth it for the info. But you can see why, like, I went on by it, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. I was like very, very tempted, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
Just stick to the plan.
Yeah.
But I think the major question I have at the end of this book is Jack actually dead? Because it wasn't 100%. It wasn't 100% confirmed. It was more like, how could he possibly survive this?
Right.
And I mean, as you mentioned earlier, he has a tendency to survive things he simply should not.
Oh, right.
So,
yes, I did mention his strange inhuman-like abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Yeah. I guess you'll have to read
You're
on.
saying I shouldn't have any hope?
I'm not saying anything. You're gonna have to read to find out.
At this point in time, I am holding out a sliver of hope that Jack is not dead.
Yeah, at the end of my first read through, when I read that ending, I was literally like, that cannot just have happened. That cannot just have happened. Oh my god.
Even though I don't like what happened, I love when books surprise me like that.
Yes. Yes. Same. Yeah. Well, it raises the stakes because all of a sudden characters you thought were safe aren't. And that makes it just that much more intense, right?
Yeah. When an author has the kind of guts to go for something so unexpected, you just kind of have to respect it.
Totally.
just accept it mostly.
Mostly. Well, thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed this week's episode.
On our next episode, we will be diving into the infamous, much anticipated novella, Day Zero. And I'm extremely excited for that because I think we're going to get so much information.
Yes. Thanks again, and we hope to see you next week.